everybody. Welcome to Arrow on Target. I almost forgot what podcast we're on, Chris. I almost forgot. Let me tip this camera up because it's looking like it's aimed down a little bit lower.
Yep. You're getting a lot of my legs.
They're good looking legs, dude.
All right. So this week on Arrow, we're talking about Canaries.
Are these the things that you send into the coal mines and, you know?
That is.
To find out if they come back? Yeah, it's a canary in a coal mine.
Yep, that's true.
Yeah.
This episode focused. Well, it didn't really focus. This is the thing. I really like where we're going these days, where the storylines aren't really focused on one person anymore.
This is true.
It's not like, hey, this is Diggle's episode or this is Roy's episode. It's like, this is just an episode.
This is just a team Arrow, you know? And it's really interesting, like, that was dealt with this episode. It was really funny that was kind of this plot line, where you have Oliver, who largely before he died was calling all of the shots.
Yep.
It was straight up like his way or the highway. Like there was no, nobody could say anything else. But then this episode, all of that kind of broke open, and because while he was gone, they had to make all these decisions by themselves. They almost gave it up. They had to make all these calls, and so it was nice to see them finally call him out. Because like last episode, whenever he came back, we really didn't deal with anything because he just swung in or whatever. But we knew that he wasn't going to be okay with Laurel being out there. We knew that he wasn't going to be okay with the new roles that everybody kind of had taken on. And even this episode, at the very beginning, he asked Diggle, why are you okay with this? Why are you okay with Laurel being out there? And he's like, dude, just because she's, she made that call. She made that decision. While you were gone, somebody had to do this. And so, I mean, it was nice to see them finally flesh that out, and it was a really cool turn of events.
Yeah, I really like the way that they instigated this, too, because it's like, okay, he was gone for a month, and for a good part of that, they actually thought he was, like, legitimately dead. It wasn't like they were holding out hope anymore.
Right.
He was dead.
Yep.
And so, like, whenever someone's dead, you move on. Like, like, you think about, there's a grieving period, and, like, you don't move on in terms of that necessarily.
Or in terms of like loss, where like somebody's just not there, and so you feel that absence.
Right, but you have to, like you said, if there was a hole to fill in the team, and you're going to adjust your roles and how you behave based on that pretty immediately.
Yeah,
and then to operate under those terms for weeks, couple weeks, you get into a new groove, the Emperor's new groove,
an Emperor's new groove.
Yes. You get into a new groove.
You threw off my groove.
And
I think I just threw off your groove in that sentence.
That's okay. I brought us on that rabbit trail, and I should not have.
I just chased it on down, dude.
Yes.
We're so far past the Mad Tea Party.
Yes. This is entirely another reference.
Alice in Wonderland.
So anyway, that's all I have to say.
Yeah. So whenever he returns, it's just the world is different. The world has changed, and he's got to be okay with that. Like I loved the moment whenever Felicity said exactly what the audience was kind of thinking. It was very much a. Let me find it in my quotes actually, so I won't say this one later. She says, "You don't have the right to come back here and question everyone's choices," because like. While he was gone, people made calls. People were forced into these positions and into these roles that they made choices.
Yeah.
And it's like whether it was the choice that Oliver would have made or would not have made, which is definitely obvious from the Felicity standpoint, as we addressed last week on the episode, where they had to make these choices, and they made the call not to work with Malcolm, even though as soon as the first thing that Oliver does whenever he comes back, it says we are working with Malcolm. So it's all of those things. So.
This was, I think, what Katie Lotz was talking about earlier in the season, whenever she said she was coming back for... How many episodes was she in the first one? 2? So she had 3 episodes that she was doing this season. I think this was the 3rd one.
Yeah.
So we saw her briefly as basically a hallucination.
Yeah.
By Laurel.
She was really creepy in those hallucinations.
Yeah.
Woo!
Yeah.
I
want to say something real fast about the two of them. It was cool. I don't know. There's just something still about Laurel that does not feel Canary-ish.
I think she's definitely a different type of Canary, or definitely a different type of character than Canary was, or like Katie Lotz is. I think that now, and something you mentioned, was it last week or the week before on the episode? You mentioned that Laurel, until she dealt with the whole lying to Quentin situation, then she would not be the hero that she needed to be.
Yeah.
And it was obvious this episode, and I think even in one of her hallucinations, Oliver said she wasn't a hero. And while I would disagree and say, hey, she has been a hero, but she hasn't been full on like, hey, what does she need to be to take this to the next level? And I think now that she's dealt with that baggage, and that now that Quentin actually knows that it's her out there and she's not hiding something, that maybe now she'll come into her own, and she's addressed the fact that, hey, I can't be the same person as my sister.
Yeah, I mean, so she's dealt with half of that, and I think she's dealt with the Quentin part. My big point also included the fact that she was still doing everything for the wrong reasons, still doing it for the wrong motivations, and Oliver called her out on that this episode.
Yeah,
he said, "You're going out there. You're an addict. You're trying to ease the pain of Sarah's death by going out there and being her."
Yeah.
And I think, I don't know that we fully dealt with that.
You don't
part
know
of
if we've seen the last of that.
We are on the way toward dealing with that. And once she does get past those motivations, like she's actually doing it because she's doing it for the city, or because she's doing it to protect those she loves, not to try to ease the pain and be someone else.
Yeah.
And I think also in parallel with that, that same kind of idea of being someone else, there was a moment. Oh, it was in the same conversation she had with Oliver, and she said, "You're not the one to tell me this. You're the one going out there. You do the same exact thing." And I beg to differ.
Yeah.
Especially ever since he's came back, but a lot this season, because ever since he lost his company, he doesn't play any other role.
Other than to Thea. And then that was the moment whenever she told him that. Basically, the next thing he did was he ran out, he went and finally revealed everything to Thea. So he, I think that was a very good moment for his character and a good turn to take, and it was exactly what he needed to actually do the big reveal for Thea. Because otherwise, I think he would have continually done that. Because the only person, if you really think about it, the only person that he was still keeping that persona of hey, I'm not the Arrow to, was her. You know, I mean, the only person now is Quentin, and that is neither here nor there.
And I don't think Quentin cares.
No, Quentin doesn't care.
And he'll probably find out.
Oh, he'll probably find out.
I mean, I guess maybe the only reason he wouldn't find out is because he's such a high-ranking member of the police force. But then again, he's going to keep Laurel's secret, so whatever, And I honestly...
And he knows Roy's. He knows it's Diggle.
Exactly.
He knows it's Felicity.
And we've posited before that, he already knows. He just never voices it because... it could cause some problems.
Yeah, or even if he admitted it to himself that it was Oliver, it's he doesn't... Historically, he doesn't really like Oliver that much.
Right.
And so I think that there's this cognitive dissonance between something that he thinks that Oliver's this jerk or whatever, and so if he really truly admitted that he's the Arrow, it would eliminate that tension for him. And so there's that element of it as well. I don't think personally he really wants to admit it.
Yeah, I agree with that. It'll be interesting to see where Quentin's path takes him now that he knows that Sarah's dead. That was heartbreaking.
Dude. Oh, man. So, it was interesting to see him in two different scenes this time. First of all, it was interesting to see him in the hallucination where he was being really mean and almost, and basically it was a foreshadowing of things to come.
Right.
Of how things could have gone really, really badly with telling him about Canary.
Right.
But then whenever we actually told him about it, first of all, it was that he said he knew, and he knew it was Laurel running around out there, and he was okay with it, and he was proud of her, but he was mad, but he was I'm proud of you, whatever. But then whenever we actually told him that Sarah was dead, and she didn't even have to say it, which I thought was a nice touch that he just knew. She said it's about Sarah, and she's crying, and he's like, "Oh my gosh!"
I don't know what else
crushes down.
What's the other answer in that situation?
There isn't any.
She's crying, and she says it's about Sarah. Yeah, she's back, or something.
I don't know. It's is there?
She bought a Lamborghini.
Yeah, there's really nothing worse.
She won't let me drive it.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing else it could have been. But to see both of those reactions in one episode, it was a nice parallel and a good turn of the coin.
Yeah, I agree. it was funny that we dealt with a couple of different parental issues. You know, like we dealt with Detective Lance there, and when Oliver revealed himself to Thea, she asked, "Did Mom know?"
Yeah.
And he had to tell her, yeah, she had known for a couple of months. She told me right before she died or whatever. And that was, man, I had forgotten about that. And like, I do miss the influence of Moira on these characters, especially on Thea and Oliver.
It was last week. We actually just were kind of chilling around the house or whatever. We put on the first season, the pilot of Arrow. And man, you forget how much gravitas that Moira, like as soon as she walked into a room, you're like, okay, I'm paying attention, something's gonna happen. You know, or like, you know, oh, well, she's super influential into like both the city and the relationships with her children.
Yeah.
And so like it was interesting to see that again and go, man, I forgot so much about that. And I liked that, but I liked the referential thing where like it reminds you that, hey, she was super cool and she was, you know, she did this, she actually knew and was okay with it. But we also dealt with Malcolm. Like that's the other parent that we dealt with.
I was gonna make that point and say like they in that same scene they contrasted that very subtly against Malcolm and you know, Thea being mad at Malcolm, and what did he say? He said something about well, that's what you do when you're a dad or a parent. You protect your children. It's just like, man. I mean, I understand the sentiment. That's cool. That's, I mean, you know, good. He's just really angry about it.
Dude, it's really funny. I think I made the comment where I was like, "There's Malcolm, always at a 10." You know, he's just you bring you literally bring anything to Malcolm, and he's always just like in your face about it.
You brought me a cheeseburger. I love cheeseburgers.
This cheeseburger is the best cheeseburger. You know, I don't know.
I'm gonna shoot an arrow at it.
I really legitimately just feel like he takes everything and then just takes it to a 10. Yes. You know?
Yeah. You don't think Oliver's dead? Well, here's the bloody sword that stabbed him.
Exactly. Oh man. You don't think Ra's al Ghul's you know, a threat? Here's this guy that, you know, you just hooked up with and he's gonna kill you.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, I don't think that was Malcolm's
No, that wasn't Malcolm's doing it at all.
He was there.
But he was there.
He probably knew what was happening.
Dude, like, okay,
why does he always show up in his, like, when does he change into his archer suit?
Dude, he's just got it underneath his outfit all the time.
I don't know.
He's always in that outfit. What are you talking about?
No, he's not. He goes to the Arrow Cave and he's in his, like, suit.
See, that's the believable...
I just want to know, like, why is he in a suit?
This is the believable thing about Superman, where like Superman wears this really tight suit, and so it's believable that he wears it underneath.
Yes.
But something that's like this weird, you know, I don't know, it's big and bulky,
He's got this
and
big
it's
cloth thing.
Yeah, you
like,
know,
some kind of like hood.
Yeah, and the face covering. I don't know.
Arrows.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like, where do you keep this stuff? It's,
no idea.
It's not convenient.
It's got to take like 20 minutes to put on.
Yeah, and I mean, you've got to have like lockers all across the city if you're him, you know, or just constantly have
like a go bag.
Yeah, you know, it reminds me of the Lego Movie. Whenever Lord Business walks into his thing, and like they put on the hat and and he steps on it, and he's on this big stilts.
Yes,
that's really funny.
We
so got off track. I'm sorry.
Man, you're on a roll tonight.
It's all my fault, all the time.
We also dealt with Thea. Oh gosh. Completely lost my train of thought.
I'm so sorry.
It's okay. We dealt with Thea and Oliver. I really loved the way that ended up, because honestly, I did not see them go in that direction. I thought that the writers would throw us for a loop. We would see she would get mad at Oliver. I did say, like, whenever she got mad at Malcolm, I was like, she has to be mad at somebody, because honestly, that's her character. Mm-hmm. Like, she's going to pick and choose who she is in line with and agrees with, and then who she's mad at. And honestly, I think that she's all she's ever wanted from anyone has always just been straight up the truth.
Yeah.
The truth.
Yeah, that's what she's been about.
With it. And that's why I have always said, like, I don't know why Oliver keeps this stuff from her, because it just makes things worse. And it's obvious, like, seeing her reaction tonight, it did make things worse. He should have told this to her last season, whenever she was dealing with, everyone's lying to me. Yeah. And just tell her the truth, and she'll be fine with you, dude.
Yeah. And it's interesting to see her, like, because she's such a big supporter of the Arrow, it's really fun to see, like, a fan of the Arrow talk to the Arrow. Right. You know, it's like, I mean, the closest that we've ever had to that has been Barry Allen. whenever he was on the show.
Yeah.
You know, and so it's fun to see that again and to have that element where, you know, she walks in and she's, you know, he's like, you're still up, and she's like, yeah, I can't sleep. You know, insomnia seems to be a symptom of your brother being the Arrow.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and so it's, you know, and then he makes a comment where she's like, oh, did you smell like smoke? And he's like, C4, and she's like, oh, we can have these conversations now. So it's really great to see their relationship in that light. It's refreshing.
I mean, that's something I've missed over the past. Probably it's been like good like year and a half maybe.
Yeah.
I've missed their brother and sister relationship, and I think it's back now.
Yeah.
Because he's not keeping any secrets from her, and I don't know that he's going to from now on. They called her Speedy, I think 3 times in this episode, 3 or 4. And
it's funny on Twitter. Somebody said, "So we're setting her up to be Speedy, right?"
Yeah. I didn't catch that.
I didn't catch that the first time.
What did you call her?
Or the second time. Or the third time.
Sleepy? That's what you're calling her?
Dopey?
Yeah,
Doc?
so it's obvious that
Grumpy.
she's going to be working with him in some capacity, and honestly, I'm super excited about it.
Oh, dude. Next week's episode looks epic.
Yeah. Do you think she will eventually figure out the extent to which Malcolm has deceived her?
She's got to.
And that she'll find out that she killed Sarah.
Yes, she's got to. And here's why. Here's when I think it will happen as well. I think it will come from Ra's al Ghul's mouth. I really think it'll come from somebody in his side of things.
Does he know that though?
Yeah, that's why he's after him because of Malcolm, but it's, you know, I don't know.
He thought it was because
he thought it was Malcolm.
He's going to be he thought it was Oliver because Oliver said it was him. That's why he dueled him.
Ah, that's right.
So that's why he'll be coming back after Oliver.
That's right.
He'll be coming after Malcolm because he betrayed the
yes,
whatever his organization is called.
The League of Assassins.
League of Assassins. Betrayed League of Assassins. Why, though, is this assassin trying to kill Thea? Just because she's connected to Malcolm?
Well, because she's connected to both of them. I remember, didn't they talk about, they'll take out your whole family? Or
That's true,
that
they did.
Sort of thing.
And the rest of his family's gone.
Right. And so, you know, yeah, I mean, Slade already took care of part of that. I don't know, man, I also think that there's this underlying, hey, they want to train her to fight these people because they know that if they actually find out, there's no hiding it now. You know,
I agree with that, and I'm not surprised that they're not telling, or Oliver's not telling her the extent right this instant, and that he needs to. But I think that if he did tell her that,
there's no way she'd end up on that island with Malcolm. You know,
no, there's no way she'd work with him then.
No,
and so for the time being, her being in the dark about the extent of his betrayal is beneficial to Oliver.
And to Thea.
And to herself, yeah.
And it's really interesting, last episode we saw Thea be so anti-killing and I'm not a killer. I'm not and I think she actually, did she say those words? I'm not a killer? Whenever he said, you're going to have to kill them, whenever they come after you because they're going to kill her. And she's like, I'm not a killer.
I don't know if I think there was some resistance to that. I don't know if she said those words outright.
Yeah.
I more think that she said it this week. Her idea was that she was learning how to defend herself so that she wouldn't have to rely on anyone like she was before.
Right.
Because that's what got her into trouble.
Yeah. And what I see happening is that whenever it actually comes out and she is she will have, because her identity right now is that I don't kill people. And then to find out that you have, think about how Roy reacted. And it's it's going to be that, but then Thea-ized. And so it's going to be that much, I mean, more shattering to her.
The good thing about it will be the fact that it will push her further away from Malcolm, which will be good. Getting her away from Malcolm, out of his influence, is a good thing.
I agree. And it's so shocking that she stuck around this long, that it took her this long to figure out that, hey, he's actually not telling you the truth, and and now she's not okay with any of this. Right. So because not only is he a terrible person, he's been lying to her as well. Because before the only thing he had going for him was, okay, so she was like, oh, you can come back or you can not be a bad person. But she realized he is a bad person, but at least he's not lying to me.
Yeah. Man, though, that scene whenever Oliver told Thea, I've been waiting for that since season 1, dude.
Yep.
Oh, it felt so good.
It was great, dude. And it's that moment right there. Whenever she turns around and she says, "Hey, you were the one that has been doing all of this," and she's like, "So whenever all those times that I thought you were just a flake, you were actually saving people's lives," and he was like, "Yes." And then it's just like, "Thank you."
Yeah.
You know, that moment was just so satisfying because it wasn't what I thought was going to happen.
Nope.
It wasn't. Honestly, it wasn't in the realm of possibility that I thought was going to happen.
Yeah.
But it makes. What's funny about that is that it makes perfect sense with her character. So it's nice to have that consistency. The flashbacks. I want to talk about those.
Oh yeah.
We had some crazy stuff go down with Amanda Waller and with him and what's his name? I can't remember his name.
And we left it in a crazy place.
We did. It's really weird that we're doing this, and then next week we're gonna go to Starling City in the flashbacks.
Yeah.
And we're gonna go to the island
in the real world,
the real timeline.
Present.
Yeah, the present. So that's gonna be a fun switch up.
Okay, so you made a reference to something in season 1?
Yeah, or like season 2, or like she looked for him in Shanghai.
But it can't be based off of this call if they erased it.
Let's crowdsource this. Back in season 1 or 2, what in the world went down with Moira looking for him in Shanghai, and did she actually kind of get maybe a piece of this phone call? Because I almost thought she did. I almost thought she was like, I heard, and I got this, weird voice. I don't know. I almost thought like we'd seen this before.
If anyone knows, let us know.
Yeah, if anyone knows, let us know at Stay on Target Pod or on our own Twitters or whatever.
At ChrisWright250
and at JohnWright777. But yeah, just let us know about that if you know. So
yeah, it was. Other than that, it really did nothing in the.
I mean, the flashbacks were rough for Oliver because he got tortured.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean, I guess they didn't really serve a purpose in parallel with this storyline, and this is whenever I feel like these flashbacks are at their weakest, and honestly, kind of get in the way of the rest of the story. Like, you take for instance, Ray Palmer was not in this episode again because he didn't need to be and was irrelevant to the story.
Yep.
Honestly, that flashback. Completely irrelevant to this story in this episode.
Yeah, and the only thing like it's gonna serve to do, and I'm interested in, is to see the connection between Ra's al Ghul and Amanda Waller. Like those two people, so to this point, they have lots of things in common in that Oliver and I can't remember his name. I'm gonna have to look up his name because I keep thinking Tatsu, but that's his wife's name. But they are tied to both of those characters. Mm-hmm. They've experienced being, with both of those people. So I will be interested to see what those, like Amanda and Raish have anything to do with each other or like have interacted before or anything.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, yes, it'll be cool to see. It'll be cool to see that. I think that we could have done this in a shorter, more like I don't know, more compacted way in like either last episode or the next episode. We could have reached the same point without forcing it into an episode it doesn't have any relation to. Like the island stuff and the flashback sequences have always been the best whenever they have some kind of direct relation to what's going on in the present. They explain something or you get a relevant piece of backstory.
They are the reason to watch the episode. Like season 1, there was a few episodes where it was like, okay, we're having all this action go down on the island, and while it may not have ties to the other thing, but there's some cool stuff going on.
Yeah.
Whereas this episode, it very much didn't have anything.
I think that's a mistake, though. I don't think that that's good writing, and that your flashbacks are the only exciting pieces of your story. I think that yes, it's cool to see. I think, take for instance, we were talking about a few weeks ago, like the Queen of Hearts gang or whatever it was called.
And Flash.
Yeah, I don't know if that's what they were called. But,
it's yeah.
And what that episode of Arrow in the first season, whenever they're in it, I also think that's whenever you first see like Deathstroke on the island in the flashbacks. And that's super interesting. Like that's what or the guys and that's who you want to see. That's what you want to see on the island pieces, something that's super intriguing.
Yeah.
But that didn't come at the expense of another story.
This is true.
And it didn't feel forced. It still felt relevant because you were still world building at that point.
That's true. Well, and if you amount like the scenes from the flashbacks this time, I mean, it probably wouldn't have amounted to more than what, like 10 minutes.
Yeah, I'm not saying like.
And so, but like that's 10 minutes that you could have spent doing more with something in the city, like you said, like seeing what somebody else is working on, or even like putting more into the Laurel and Quentin situation, or putting more into the Thea finding out. I mean, there's a lot of things that you can do with 10 minutes of screen time, and it almost seems ill-served that those 10 minutes were a setup for something that probably won't pay off in until way down the line. Yeah. So until later this season.
Yeah, I agree. And so in that way, the flashbacks, they have to be able to break away from them if they need to at points. Like. Yeah, they've made it work for 3 seasons pretty well. And I'm not saying they couldn't make it work for another 2, but like, are we gonna run this entire series with flashbacks?
Man, hopefully not, because I mean, hopefully we
have 5 years worth of him being away.
Right.
Maybe they end it after the 5.
Yeah, and hopefully we find out what all happened to him. But I mean, we don't need it every week in my mind. Like we can just revisit it every once in a while, and it's like that'll get me by.
Yeah.
It is weird, like, that we're telling it in the timeline. Like, some shows will do it, like, and jump around in time and things, but this one has been sticking to that timeline. That's nice, but we don't have to see it every episode. Last thing I wanted to talk about was Count Vertigo being back. He's a cool villain. We dealt with him early in the season, and that was actually the first time whenever I think we made the comparison where it was like, this is feeling more and more like a Gotham-esque Batman type of a villain situation.
Yeah, when he showed up earlier in the season. For sure, and it was really cool having him back. What was his fate? I can't remember now. What happened to him? Like, did they catch him?
Yeah, they caught him and they put him in prison, and that's where that's how he broke out.
I'm talking about this time.
This time. Well, yeah. I mean, Laurel beat the crap out of him.
Right.
And so he's just laying there bleeding on the thing until the cops come, I would imagine.
Okay, I like that.
Yeah, it's good. I'm
cool with that.
That was awesome. Like, it was nice that this episode had a couple of moments of like, Laurel's in danger, we rescued her.
Yeah.
And then Thea was in danger, we rescued her. So it was nice at the end of the episode to finally see like Laurel's in danger and then beats the heck out of the person that was the threat. You know? Yeah. It was nice to see that somebody finally overcame, whatever the threat was in front of them and didn't have to get, rescued by somebody else. So 2
interesting things I wanted to call out. The first is the fact that Roy just basically mirrors whatever Thea feels at the time, like, and he's that's
we should team up with Malcolm.
We should do he's a good guy. He was looking out for the city back when he destroyed it.
Yeah. What you don't like Malcolm now? I like let's not Malcolm.
That episode last time, whenever he was like, "Hey guys," he came into the room really serious. "Hey guys, I just found out something. I just found out that Malcolm saved Thea."
Yeah, that was really funny.
It was really funny. But then and then this episode, she's like, "I don't trust Malcolm. I don't think I can ever trust him again." And he's like, "Well, there's your answer. You shouldn't work with him."
Yeah, and then he even stands up to Oliver. Like, he even stands up to Oliver. Like, whenever Oliver snapped at Thea, he stands up to Oliver. He's like, and plus, if Thea doesn't want to work with Malcolm, she doesn't have to work with him. And it's just like, really, Roy? Decide on your own or whatever. But
yeah, it's just basically whatever Thea wants, he's gonna do. The other point is. One of our Twitter followers, our fans of the show, super fan Chris Dennison, tweeted at us and had a picture of, and it was true this episode.
Yep.
Laurel as Canary does not have any kind of like eye makeup underneath her mask, and Sarah did, and I also do like Sarah's look better.
Well, and it conceals your identity more too.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't look like whenever you look at Katie Lotz and then look at her as Canary, it's conceivable that they're not the same person if she has the black eye makeup. But then, and Oliver and Roy kind of the same way.
Yeah.
But it's like Laurel, like without the black eye makeup, she doesn't really, it doesn't conceal her identity as much. I actually kind of like it though. I'm on the opposite side where I actually kind of like the, it's almost got this like reverse raccoon look to it. And so it's like, it just looks like a really cool, I don't even know, like it just looks cool.
How's
like
it
I like
reverse
it.
raccoon?
Like you were maybe
raccoon,
it's just like a raccoon.
They have dark.
They have dark, but then she has white. Like it's the white around her eyes. That's what I'm saying.
I mean, it's a different look for sure. And obviously, like the reason we got away from the face paint in the first place was because it's kind of ridiculous that Oliver's spending a lot of time taking face paint off his face every single time he does something.
That's true. And then she also has the job. She's the only one who actually has to keep a public persona, other than Felicity, but the only mask that actually has to have a public persona. And so, like, for her, you're right, to remove the makeup every time, it's like, oh my gosh. And then to have to do, like, an additional makeup to put it on again. I don't know. That would be really time-consuming.
Yeah,
so
I mean,
it's believable.
It's more of the look that they have going on for Flash. Flash doesn't have any eye makeup on underneath his mask.
That's true.
But I still really like... I mean, it's very Batman-esque to have that, and I like the way that looks. I think it looks more...
menacing.
Yeah, more menacing, more legit.
Yeah. Yeah, but again, I think it logically...
You're a real superhero. You wear makeup underneath your mask.
But logically, it doesn't.
Underwear.
It doesn't on
over
the outside.
your pants.
On the outside,
Yes.
right? Just, and then you do front and then back, and never mind. That was a Big Hero 6 reference. Sorry. You don't remember that part?
No.
Oh my gosh! Whenever they had Stan Lee at the end in the Indian credits,
Yes.
and he was telling,
Yes.
Fred, the whole thing about
Yes.
the underwear or whatever.
Yes.
Anyway, woo! There's Big Hero 6. Go watch that movie. Great movie.
Good movie. Out on Blu-ray now.
Yeah. Anyway, so this episode, how many hoods do we give this episode?
I give this episode 4 hoods.
I give it 4
Out of
hoods
5.
too. 4 out of 5 hoods.
Yep.
I like it, dude.
Yep.
It was a really fun episode.
Yep. Do we have a couple of quick quotes?
Yeah, let me hit you with a couple of them. Let me see. There was the Oliver and Thea conversation before they walked down into the Arrow Cave, and she says, he says, "We're going to the sub basement," and she says, "I thought you said it was flooded," and he says, "I lied." Oh my gosh, that was like the most tense situation.
Yep.
Woo! Edge of my seat, man.
Straight up honesty.
Oh yeah, dude.
I lied.
And then we have Oliver, who says, "We're going to work with Malcolm because Ra's al Ghul is coming for all of us." Or coming for us.
He said Roz.
All of us. Yeah, he said Roz.
This is the thing. This is the way that they separated on this show. All the good guys always say Roz.
All the bad guys always say Ra's. Yep. Because the bad guys, they don't want to make him mad. I don't know.
I think that's because they call him whatever his native... They talk to him in his native tongue.
That would make sense. Then we have... Let me see if there's one that I want to finish on. Let me see. All right. So we have Diggle, who's talking to Oliver, and he says, "What I know, Oliver, is that you started something strong enough to live past you. The question is, can you live with what it's become?" Ooh, that's a good one.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have... Let me find that last one I wanted to end on. It is Thea, who says, "All those nights that I thought you were a flake, and you told me some story that I knew was a lie. You were saving someone's life. Thank you." Great.
It was amazing. That's it for this week. We also talked on our main podcast this week about
The Marvel news.
Spider-Man joining the Marvel Universe. You can find our take on there. We also have another podcast about The Flash.
Also on our main podcast this week, we didn't recite, but we read the Gettysburg Address.
Yes.
Boom. Check it out. StayOnTargetPodcast.com.
It's a very odd thing to plug.
I'm sorry. It's just it was fun.
It was a lot of fun. Yeah,
it was good.
It was for Lincoln's birthday.
I liked it, man. Yeah.
And so you can check us out online at StayOnTargetPodcast.com, on Twitter at StayOnTargetPod, at ChrisWright250,
And at JohnWright777.
That's it for this week. We'll see you next time on
Arrow on Target.